Hello, friends. My name is Erin Hawkins, and I'm the General Secretary of the General Commission on Religion and Race. I want to welcome you to the fourth installment in the Vital Conversation series, Race, Culture, the Church, and Human Sexuality. Given the current discussion in the United Methodist Church around the ordination and marriage of gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgendered, and queer persons, we offer this resource for your discernment. There are those who question why G-Corps is involved in the conversation about human sexuality. To this we say, as the agency responsible for lifting up the voices of those historically marginalized, we believe that any discussion about the future of this denomination must include those voices. We encourage you to watch these videos and to discuss them with those in your church and community, as together we discern a way forward.
My name is Joy Bronson. I am a divinity student at Vanderbilt Divinity School, and I am a confirmed candidate for deacon in the West Ohio Conference.
My name is Isaac Brun. I'm from Côte d'Ivoire Annual Conference in West Africa. I'm also looking to be ordained as an elder in my annual conference.
When I left home for college, I didn't go to church for most of college. I was in a middle of nowhere, Ohio, and couldn't find a church that was like my church. I've since learned that you will never find a church that's like your church, and you just need to give it up and go to God. And when I moved back to a city, I'm from Cincinnati. I moved to Columbus, Ohio after undergrad. The church I started going to, I showed up one Sunday because I was trying to find a church, and I was like, let me go to this church where their bells wake me up every Sunday. I believe the majority of the congregation is LGBTQ, and the love and the life and the heart and the spirit of that congregation is what brought me back to church. I had stayed away for a long time because I did not find church to be a place that we talked about God, but we didn't seem to live God very well. And that is one of the spaces in which I have most experienced love in my entire life. So I just wish that we looked more at each other as people and begin the conversation there, because again, that we talk about this is the LGBTQ question. We're trying to solve a problem when what we're really trying to do is figure out how we love people. And I really feel like we've lost that. So.
Yes, this is very important because, what we've realized is that taking the Bible as it is not enough. Otherwise, in the United Methodist Church, we won't have women who preach, or people will still be in slavery because the Bible says so. So reading the Bible as it is not enough.
How do you understand the conversation that we're having in the U.S. about issues of sexuality or LGBTQ persons? I feel like we're kind of in a vacuum talking about it, and it's kind of this either or. And I don't know if you feel like you have a different perspective, or if you even had a perspective on it before you came to the U.S. and kind of ran into it, because it's pretty unavoidable at this point.
I had a perspective before I came to the U.S., and that is the same perspective that you will hear from many people from Africa, that same-sex marriage is a sin. The Bible is against this issue. When I was doing my internship with United Methodist Communication as the French desk manager, I translated a story that my colleague posted on the umc.org main page. That was the election of Bishop Karen Olveto, as the first opening lesbian married bishop. And people in my country honestly got mad at me. And I only did a translation, not of an opinion, but an event that has happened in the church. The people in Cote d'Ivoire now view the United Methodist Church as a church that supports LGBTQ.
Okay.
In Africa, we don't like to talk about those kind of issues because it's, and especially in the church. And the church was embarrassed by the study that was published because before it was published, the issue was only a US-centric issue,
Yeah.
but now it was in
Okay.
French. Everybody can have access to it, and everybody knows what is going on. I came here in August 2015. December 31st, 2015, there was no service in the church that I was attending. So I asked, a friend was living close by, I asked some friend, where can we have a service, an African American church? So they point me to a church I was there. One of my classmates was part of the leaders of the church, and was one of the most beautiful services I've ever had in terms of crossover, because it was African American and the music was more like home and so on and so forth. And 6 months later, I moved from my host family to my own apartment. So I invited some of my friends to come home and to celebrate. And then that friend was one of the minister of the church, come with another man and introduced me to that man as his wife. I was surprised, not because of the relationship, but I was surprised that this issue cannot be understood from where I'm coming from. Because this is someone was God gifted in what he was doing, but yet in this relationship. So then from these two experiences and also the conversation that I have with people in the classroom and outside the classroom, help me understand that what is important is not the idea of sexuality, but what is important is what brings us closer to God.
Yeah.
So then I decided in my paper to focus on dialogue. How can we be in dialogue with one another? The issue of same-sex marriage is there, and sooner or later, it's going to impact our conference, our continent as African.
Yeah.
So how do we handle it? We either handle it poorly, and it will affect the church poorly, or we handle it right, and the church can also blossom.
In my first experience with a person who's gay or homosexual in church, first one I remember, I was 9, and a man walked in during service. 9-year-old me was like, oh, he's gay. And I don't know why I knew he was gay, because as far as I knew, I didn't know very many gay people. I recognized that he was super nervous, and even though I was only 9, I knew why he was nervous, because he's walking into this predominantly black church, which historically has issues with homosexuality, and he was nervous. I think he was trying to figure out, did he belong here, or would he be safe here, was he okay here? And yet this was a person who was looking for a church home. At some point I didn't think about him being there, and then we got around to the sermon. I feel like you always know the pitch and tenor of how the pastor's sermon is going and like about where they are. And I realized his tone shifted from the normal cadence. And so I started tuning in more, and I realized that he had shifted his sermon from whatever he was preaching about to how homosexuality is wrong and evil and a sin. I'm like, I want to look and check on this man, and does he know that this is about him? Everybody's probably looking at him. When I finally turned around, he was gone. That was my very first and probably most significant lesson in the capacity that the church has to hurt people. I don't know that we're so much in the place to help, so much as we should be most in the place to help. And I think we have kept ourselves from being in that place because we haven't had important conversations.
In Côte d'Ivoire, we can find a solution because hospitality is our motto. Mm-hmm. So as Ivorian, we need to sit down and talk. Okay, this is what is going on. What should we do? And the church, who is the representative of Jesus Christ on earth, is in a better position to say, okay, this is what we need to do as a church. The church can go toward them and be in conversation with them, and the LGBTQ folk also need to come to them and be in conversation with the church. So both of them, the church and the LGBTQ community, has to both make the steps towards each other and start the conversation.
So my viewpoint would be they're the church just as much as we're the church, because we're all the church. It doesn't belong to us, and like they get to come in. It's all of ours, and we're trying to figure out how to be together.
We need to start somewhere.